Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this Sunday service on August 1st. Can you believe we're entering the latter part of summer? The only advantage of that, it starts to get a little bit cool usually in August, as opposed to years ago when it used to be the dog days of August. Things have changed. It just feels great to be in your presence and to see all the, I'd like to say smiling, but I can't really tell. And that goes for the Zoom participants too. I just have to ask your indulgence today. You know, we're all creatures of habit in some form or another, and I've had the habit of doing the Zoom platform service for over a year now. And it's a little bit different. Now I got to get back in the groove of doing what we did back in the old days. But I'll give it my best. So I now welcome everyone, as I said, and it's time to begin with our call to worship, which is hymn number 111, Living Abundantly. Please stand. Today's word is radiance. I'd like to ask Myrna Court to come up now and read it for us.
Good morning. Radiance. The Christ presence within is my radiant source of good. On a clear day, when a stray cloud passes across the sun, I notice the suddenly diminished light. Then, looking up, I see brilliant rays of sunshine surrounding the cloud. Instead of hiding the sun, the cloud helps me see and appreciate the sun's radiance. As the sun lights the earth and is the source of its energy, the Christ, the divine presence within me, is my light and the source of everything I need in order to live brilliantly and joyfully. When, like a passing cloud, an obstacle or challenge along my path may seem to dim my Christ light, I respond by looking up, by raising my point of view. I am reassured and strengthened, knowing that the divine radiance is shining as brightly as ever. No cloud can dim the divine light in me. And from John 1:5, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. Have a blessed day.
Thank you very much, Myrna. Today's daily word brings me back decades ago when I was a Sunday school teacher right next door in here to 3rd to 5th graders, such as our own Ian and Erin Foley, believe it or not. Yeah, it really was that long ago. And as I've seen those youngsters mature into adults, I do get a sense of pleasure in having contributed in some small way to their spiritual growth. But today's daily word brings me to those times because of its use of metaphor. That is, use of a word or phrase to help us to better understand, frequently through visualization, something that's less obvious. For example, using the sun's radiance and passing clouds to demonstrate how our inner Christ, the divine presence, functions in our lives. Now, going back to my teaching experience, I quickly learned about the use of metaphors and how frequently they are used in scripture and other spiritual teachings, such as poetry and music. So I started using these little spiritual poetry booklets that I had accumulated. They came from, I believe, with the Salesian missions, who send these out monthly, and I just always kept them. So what I would do is I would choose these carefully, and then I'd distribute them to the class, have them each read the particular book. They were very short, like one poem in the booklet. And then I'd ask them to pick out what the metaphors were, and also to develop some of their own. And then we would discuss that. And this turned out to be an interesting and informative teaching tool for me, and a learning method for the youngsters. Great memories. Now, coming back to the present, the word radiance is a great and appropriate use of metaphor for this lesson. We all know the high importance of the sun in our earthly lives, be it the warmth it provides, the light that allows us to see, and of course, numerous other characteristics of the sun that have been learned over the years by scientists. They've learned to make use of them in our lives. The fact is, there would be no human life on this planet if it were not for the sun. You can see then what a beautiful way it is to use radiance, and more specifically, the sun's radiance, to help us to understand the wonders and importance of the Christ within us and how it affects our whole life. As children of God, most of us, at least, don't walk around with visible halos over our heads. Yet each of us in a unique and special way exhibits a divine radiance because of the presence of and our own expression of the Christ within us. Yes, that divine light, that brilliance of the Christ light shining within us and through us is a true metaphor for God's ever presence in our lives. Yet I ask, is radiance truly a metaphor for our loving God? For God created the sun, actually, and its radiance also. God created it to make shine and radiate upon this earth, allowing all life forms to exist and thrive. So then God is the energy and the radiant life of each one of us, just as God is all in this world, the summit being love. I would now ask everyone to take a deep breath with me. And let us pray. I know that there is only one life in this universe, God life. And that life is my life right now. And the light of God surrounds me and works through me as the Christ in me. Therefore, I am the radiant life of God, the love of God, the wisdom and power and presence of God. And so, dear Spirit, I ask that you flood my soul with your spirit and life. Penetrate and possess my being so utterly that my life may only be a radiance of yours. Let everyone see me no longer as just me, but only as the Christ in me. Stay with me, O Lord, and I shall begin to shine as you shine, and to be a light to others. It will actually be you shining on others through me. Let me praise you, dear Spirit, by shining on those around me. Let me preach you, not by words, but my example, by the catching force, the sympathetic influence of what I do, the evident fullness of the love my heart bears for you. And I ask this in prayer, dear God, through the name and the nature of our brother and wayshower, Jesus the Christ. And so it is. Amen. And now I'd ask you to say after me the words of the let us affirm. The Christ presence within is my radiant source of good. Let's say that again. The Christ presence within is my radiant source of good. So now those of you who have the songbook, the hymnal, let us now sing the affirming hymn, number 109, Be Thou My Vision. Please stand. Now, see, I knew it wasn't going to go to waste that I mentioned at the start that I needed your indulgence because the prayer was not to follow directly after the daily word talk as it is in Zoom. I had it down, but I didn't do it that way. So, so here we are. We will go then directly to the prayer. Hymn number 114, Sunlight. Let us sing together with gusto. I love that hymn. Now it's time to greet one another. Just remember, no touching or hugging unless family members. So we can all say hello. And you may want to say, "You are my sunlight." Thank you. Let there be light. And there was light. I'm back. And I'm all fogged up. Oh, it feels good to be back and to see everyone's smiling eyes. And hello to everyone on Zoom. I heard we had a great service last Sunday. I heard there's a little problem with the audio for the Zoom people. I won't walk away from the mic, so we'll stay close. This is my rock. But Sarah and the kids and I, we had a great time in Florida celebrating Grandma's 98th. And it was awesome to see her and the family and all her church family. They had a party for her church family. And it really is like us, one big family. You could feel it. So it was great to be there. But I asked at this time of the service that we still our hearts and still our minds. And we close our eyes and come to that place, that centering place where the light of God is within us. For today, the word that I picked up is radiance. The radiant light of God is within you and with me. Just feel that light, that love, the life of God within you. And I ask if you're holding any ill thoughts or any thoughts of ill will towards someone, I ask that you hold them in your hearts. And together, let us say, I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. For Jesus tells us before we come to him in prayer, let us forgive those that we hold in our hearts, ill thoughts. So we release and let go and illuminate those persons, places, and things with the love of God. And then we are made whole. And then from this place of wholeness, we can ask Jesus, our way shower, teach us to pray. Teach us to commune with God. Teach us to commune with the God of our being. And teach us to let our light shine. And from this place, then we can truly sing in truth the Lord's Prayer as taught by our way shower.
O gracious Spirit within us, restore our memory. Remind us of the truth of our being. Be still our hearts and minds, so that your radiant love may come forth. Gracious Spirit within us, fill us with your peace, so that we may know your presence, your power, and all that you are. Gracious Spirit, fill our hearts with your joy, so that we may look gladly upon each other, knowing the infinite joy of God is within everyone and everything. Gracious Spirit of God, fill us with your love, so that we may be an expression of that love. That we may love you with all our heart and all our mind and all our strength. And that we may love each other as you have loved us. O gracious Spirit of God, light our way, illumine our minds, and hold our hearts in your peace, your joy, and your love. Gracious Spirit of God, it's our desire to know you completely, to feel you, to see you, and to be you. For wherever we are, God is, for the gracious Spirit of God is within us. All we need to do is to say yes. Yes to our heart's desire to know thee, to love thee, and to be thee. O gracious Spirit of God, you are the life, the light, You are all things. And in our gracious hearts, filled with love, we are filled with compassion and forgiveness, so that we may raise up ourselves and all those we hold in prayer, all those we hold in communion with the God of our being. We call out their names, knowing that the gracious Spirit of God is within them. Within that Spirit, they are whole, perfect, and complete. There is no illness, there is no lack, there is no fear. There is only God's gracious Spirit, renewing and restoring all that we are and will ever be, because he lives as thee. Thank you, gracious Spirit. Thank you for all your love. Thank you for all that you are. Oh, gracious Spirit, we feel you in our presence. We acknowledge your wisdom. And we simply say, thank you. And so it is, in Jesus' name. Amen. I don't know about you, but it feels really good to sing these hymns. They feel like prayers. We haven't sung the hymns in so long. The words kind of have a deeper meaning. You know, we're not going through them kind of wrought because it's been so long. Every hymn that we sung this morning seemed to have relevance and have meaning in our lives. I wanted to send those hymns out to our Zoom family. Unfortunately, the Monk MailChimp wouldn't allow me to attach a PDF. But I hope you still had that same feeling that everyone here in church had. And I hope that one day we'll see you too in church, because that's our ultimate goal, is to come back together as one body, one spirit. And we are, whether you're in Zoom or church, but it has a much more profound feeling here in this space. So I thank you all for coming out this morning. And like I said, we had a terrific time down in Florida. Ian and I worked remotely. I had some mandatory training I had to do while I was down there. So I had to grin and bear through 8 hours of training on Thursday and Friday. But then after the training, I could jump in the pool and relax. So we had a nice Airbnb and we had space to relax. And it was very good. And we were speaking to some of the grandmothers, and one of the grandmothers said, oh, they start bragging about how their grandchildren are so good at social distancing. And one grandmother said, my grandkids are so good at social distancing, they don't even call me. But bump. I thought you missed that humor. So our lesson title this morning is entitled, go figure, Ye Are the Light. You know, when I was reading the Daily Word, I was doing a Bob. I remembered how Bob, when he reads the Daily Word, he likes to read it word by word until a word kind of jumps out at you. And the word that jumped out at me was the word radiance. So ye are the light. Ye are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and then puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where it can give light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father. This is Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 through 16. For Jesus is telling us all that ye are the light. The only question is, do you believe it? And if we are the light, can there be any darkness, doubt, or fear in our lives? The light is a symbol of the divine wisdom within us. The light is the illumination of spirit within every one of us. The light of Christ, which brings spiritual understanding to all of us. Jesus said, I am the light. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. When Jesus said, I am the light of the world, what he meant was he was an expresser of the truth in all his thoughts, words, and actions. He expressed truth in everything. That which I am seeking, I am already. For God is, and therefore I am. For the light does not seek light, health, wealth, success, but only knows the truth. I am. Jesus did not say, I will be resurrected. Instead, he said, I am the resurrection. He did not speak about seeking truth, using truth, applying truth. He said, I am the truth. He did not speak about wisdom, getting a MDiv or a doctorate in divinity. He said, I am the light. I am the wisdom. Jesus tells us clearly, the light within me is the same light within us. Just like we used to sing every Sunday, if you might recall, it's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing how. It's in every one of us, by and by. I'm a little rusty. Gene Davis, thank you. Every call to worship, it's in every one of us to be wise, to be free, and to know God. So let us sing with it within ourselves this morning, this noon and evening. It's in every one of us. I am the life, the truth, the light, and you are the light of the world, and greater works shall you do. Is it all really true? Do we really accept the truth with all our hearts and with all our minds and all our strength that I am the light? Or do we still have some darkness and doubts and fears in our lives? Jesus tells us the truth, but he did not leave us hanging. He tells us exactly what we must do. Are you curious? Do you want to know what we must do? to be the light? He said, seek ye first the kingdom of God and seek his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. The kingdom of heaven. And where is the kingdom of heaven? The kingdom is within you. It's within every one of us. The revealing word tells us heaven is the Christ consciousness, the realm of divine ideas, a state of consciousness in harmony with the thought of God. Heaven is everywhere present, and it is the orderly outflow and adjustment of God's kingdom in our mind, body, and affairs. Jesus tells us the kingdom of God is within you, and heaven is within every one of us. But the kingdom within is not material, it's spiritual. The kingdom of heaven is within us. It is a state of consciousness with the one mind of God, which is within every one of us. For God is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, the omnipresent spirit within every one of us. And how do we find the kingdom of God within us? We followed Jesus Christ, our way shower. We follow Jesus, of course. For very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up and he left the house and he went off to a solitary place to pray and to meditate. We follow Jesus, our way shower. Early in the morning, we get up and we pray and meditate in a solitary place so that we can come to know the light of God within us. We must take time for prayer and meditation, morning, noon, and night, until it becomes natural as breathing. Joel Goldsmith writes, when you abide steadfastly in the consciousness, all the petty trial and big problems of the human existence, they fade away because truth knows no error. To life, there is no death. Buddha was asked, what have you gained from all your meditation? And he replied, nothing. But he goes on to say, however, let me tell you what I have lost. I have lost anger, anxiety, depression, insecurity, and fear of old age and death, all through meditation. You know, this past week, I've been watching all the world-class athletes. I assume many of you have been watching them as well. Excuse me. And it's hard for me to imagine how much effort and dedication it took these world-class athletes, these Olympians, and maybe some gold medal winners, how much effort it took them to get to where they are now. There's so many stories that I heard this past week of dedication and sacrifice so that they could make their Olympic dreams come true. At the same time, all the pressure to win has had a detrimental impact on many of the athletes. They say, I heard it said, 1 in 3 athletes have had bouts of anxiety and depression. Even HBO, they came out with a new documentary called The Weight of Gold. I haven't seen it yet, but I want to watch it. And it talks about all the mental health challenges that Olympic athletes often face. We know many of these names: Michael Phelps, Apollo Ono, Shaun White, Gracie Gold, Bodie Miller, David Boudier, Jeremy Bloom, Sasha Cohen, and there was a few that even took their lives. And most recently, We all heard about the 24-year-old Simone Biles, considered to be the world's greatest gymnast. Just imagine training for an event almost all your life, and just before the event, your body, your sympathetic nervous system says, you're crazy. You could go on the floor and take a tumble and fall on your head. You could become paralyzed. Just imagine the mental anxiety that she had gone through and is going through. They say the first thing they teach you as a young gymnast is how to fall. But as you age, they say, I heard a doctor say that by the age of 24, the same age as Simone Biles, is when your sympathetic nervous system comes into full effect. So just imagine her trying to do those quadruple jumps while her sympathetic nervous system is saying, no, 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 that's not for you. And having the courage to say no, because her body was not in alignment. It's like that man who climbed that mountain out in the West. He free climbed a mountain with no ropes or strings. And when they did a CAT scan of his brain, they understood that that part of the brain, the sympathetic nervous system, was not firing. So he had no fear. He just had the ambition and the desire to be the best, even if it meant possible death. So just imagine how strong a body attachment there is for all these Olympians and the constant mental stress they must endure to succeed. They forget that the body is not me. The body is mine. You get that? The body is not me. The body is mine. Mine to use, mine to appreciate, mine to nourish. Just like my attachments, all my worldly attachments are not me. They're mine to use and to enjoy and to share. Kobe Bryant, he understood the importance of being spiritually grounded. The late great Kobe Bryant, he began every day with meditation. He describes it as his anchor that he would carry through the rest of the day. Jesus tells us to come apart for a while to that place for a time of prayer and meditation every morning. What is your spiritual anchor when you arise in the morning? Do you have that special place, that anchor where you can realize you are the light of God? Psalms 199 verse 105 says, your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path. The word of God within, the Spirit of God within lights our way. But all too often, the outer world of effects speaks loudest and guides our way, while the still small voice within guides us to truth and peace and harmony. Jesus declared, I am the light of the world, and whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. It sounds simple. It's a simple promise. Follow me and you will never walk in darkness. Just follow me. How's that working for you? Do you follow Jesus in all your ways? Jesus is talking about the whole enchilada, the whole 9 yards. It's not a kinda, pretty much, which I hear often said when I ask people about their prayer and meditation life. It's all in. You know, I agree with many of us that we're often too busy for prayer and meditation in this world. I know working remotely, I work more than 8 hours every day. Often I'm there from 8 to 7 every day on the computer. But what am I saying? My life is too busy for God. The omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent power of God. It's almost like asking a blind person, would they like to see? Do you think they would say, kinda? Well, maybe, shoulda, woulda, coulda? That's what Jesus is asking us. Jesus is asking us to remember we are the light of God. Jesus declared, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to me but comes to the Father except through me. Jesus is telling us the truth. Ye are the light of the world. So how come it's so hard for many of us to see that light within? How come we don't make the time for the presence and the power of God? Dr. David Hawkins, who wrote the book Power versus Force, who had many enlightening experiences when he was a child, caught in a snowstorm, in a war where he found the peace of God. He tells us that finding the light within us is simple. There's only one thing that we need to do, or one thing we need at first to do. We need to desire to know the light of God within us. Just like the Olympic athletes have the desire to be physically the best they can be, we must have the desire to become spiritually awakened, one with the one, so that awakened light within us can guide us and lead us throughout the day. Dr. Hawkins tells us the second thing we must do is we must have a discipline to act with the constant and universal forgiveness and gentleness towards everything. Jesus tells us to forgive 7 times 70, to forgive all things, for they know not what they do. But we can only forgive when we come into that light, into that awareness of the light within us, so that we can see the light within those that we are forgiving. We're not forgiving them because of their acts. We're forgiving them because we know better. We know the light within them is asking for forgiveness, is asking for love. And then as we give, we shall receive. And one other thing is we must be compassionate towards everything. But the last thing that we must do is we must have a willingness to surrender our personal will at every moment. We must let go of all those thoughts of separation, lack, and limitation, all those egoic thoughts that seemingly keep us separate from the God of our being. So first, we must have a desire within all our heart, within all our being, to know the God of our being. And second, we must extend forgiveness to ourselves, to each other, and to everything. For as we are lifted up, we lift everyone up with us. And last, we must be willing to let go of all our worldly attachments and our egoic thoughts. Those thoughts that think we're separate and apart from the one power, the one presence active in our life, God the good. The power of decision is yours. We have the free will. We have the power to decide. It's just a matter of when. Is it now, or do we wait? Hopefully it's now. And then we can sing in the morning and in the noon and at night. It's in every one of us, here and now. and we can mean it with all our heart and all our soul. I will choose truth because I know in truth it is my defenselessness that I am secure. I am not attacked by anything because my light is whole. There is nothing that needs to be added unto my light. So I need not defend myself. It is in my defenselessness that I am able to let go and let God. So in truth, I am the light of the world. And in truth, I am a minister of God's truth. You are a minister of God's truth. Because when we take time to be still and allow the truth of our being to come forth, we must be willing to take that truth and to share it. I always encourage or remind you that we are all ministers and that the service doesn't end at 11 o'clock. The service goes on and out through the double doors when we remember that we are the light and we let our light shine for everyone to see. And we are the ministers of the truth. So we share with everyone the truth of our being, not about our material things, but about our spiritual life in God. And then we step back and we let the Spirit lead us throughout our day. And then we'll say 1,000 times this day, I walk with the Spirit of God, because the Spirit of God, the grace of God is within me. And I know I am the light of God. And so it is. Amen. Don't forget that song today. Wherever you're walking in the light because the light is within you. Amen. Thank you, David. Thank you, Michael. Hey, you know, the light is on and it's hot, so watch out. So now it's time for that part of our service where we share our light. And I have in my hand some of the love offerings that came in the mail. I have my own love offering. And I ask that you hold your love offering, whether it's electronically or physically, to hold that in your heart, knowing that this is your light shining forth into this ministry which is built and sustained by your light and love. And together we affirm divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen. I think it's time for announcements. Joan.
Good morning again. I felt we could just keep singing all day. Jesus, the light of the world. Well, these are our announcements. Friday, August 20th at 11 a.m., the book discussion group will discuss two books, A Fine Balance by Rothenstein Mystery, and The Things We Didn't Say by Amy Lynn Green, and this would be on Zoom. Sunday, August 22nd at 12:15 p.m., the Outreach and Membership Support Group will have their meeting. Thursday, September 9th at 7:30 p.m., that will be the World Day of Prayer. We'll be on Zoom service at 7:30. All are invited, and the theme is All is Well with My Soul. Sunday, September 12th, the YEP will resume at 11 a.m. Saturday, September 18th at 10 a.m., the prayer chaplains will begin a new discussion. The book is Lessons in Truth by Emily Cady, and that will be on Zoom. Saturday, September 23rd at 10 a.m., we'll have our retreat. And the theme is Finding this Secret Place, facilitated by Reverend Charles and a guest speaker. Sunday, November 7th at between 1 and 5 p.m. Mark your calendars for the Family and Friends Gala at the Carroll House. David will speak more to you after. Outreach and Mary Brennan Inn, they're accepting donations. Non-perishable items are greatly appreciated, especially during these summer months. You can support Unity Church of Christianity on Zoom when you shop at smileamazon.com. Thanks for listening, and David would like to speak.
Okay.
I have sort of two announcements. The first one is about what Bob alluded to at the beginning of the service. A Zoom service, an exclusively Zoom service, and a hybrid service, which is what we're experiencing here, are two distinctly different things. The clarity of what you got on the Zoom service when we were all electronic is not necessarily going to be the same clarity you're going to get here at service. And that's why Reverend Charles was inviting you to come and absorb the atmosphere of being in the sanctuary. So a lot of the things are not going to be the same. But the reason we continued to have a Zoom component to our service is because when we started this, we knew that they were members of the church who would not be able to come to service, whether it be during the pandemic or at any other time. And we wanted to set up a connection for them. And we understood that many of them would not be computer savvy. So Zoom seemed to be the best possible way to do it because they could phone in. So that's why we're using Zoom and continue to use Zoom. The other alternative, in order to get great clarity and great sound, would be to stream. And that would exclude those same people we're trying to include now in the service. So while we're working on trying to get greater clarity and things of that nature during the Zoom service, we're going to ask you all to be patient and really to come to church and enjoy the service itself. So that ends my spiel about that. Secondly, I want to remind everybody to please go out into the meditation garden and enjoy it, because it is a thing of beauty. And I don't know how many of you have seen it yet, but after the service, please join me outside so you can see the garden and appreciate it. And the new addition to the garden this week, thanks to Sam and Viveen Mott, is that the benches that were once there in disrepair have been refurbished and are now gorgeous and are now back in the on the meditation garden patio. So please come out and see it. And we thank Sam and Viveen for taking it upon themselves to refurbishing it. And kudos, because I couldn't tell which bench was broken, which arm was broken from the other. So I thank you very much. Now, Charles, okay.
Yes, the garden looks beautiful. The fountain is not on. I emptied the water, but I will fill it up going forward. I emptied it because it's stagnant water during the week, and that's a breeding ground for our friendly mosquitoes. So we have to get in the habit of emptying it, filling it up, and so forth from Sunday to Sunday. But it will happen. I think that's it. And if anyone's here for the first time, which I don't think so, but if you are, will you raise your hand? The ushers have a greeting package, right? And there's one. Okay. Thank you. So thank you for joining us. And Eric has a little welcome pack. And hopefully after what? Linda? It feels like you've been here forever, Linda. Linda is the first time in the sanctuary, so. So Linda joins us from Unity of Hempstead. And as you know, I used to guest speak there for John when John was on vacation, like John guest speak last week when I was on vacation. So Unity of Hempstead to me feels like family. So, and we are. And I appreciate, great to see you, and great to see you in the back. We're gonna come by and say hi after the service before you go. All that said, can we stand now and can we bless our love offerings? Freely, freely I have received, freely, freely I give. Divine love through me blesses all that I have, all that I give and receive. And for you, the giver of these gifts, we say thank you for all that you give to this ministry, of your time, your talents, and your treasures. But most of all, we give thanks to the God of our being, for we know all good gifts come from God, And we say, thank you, God, for all that you give in and through us, here and now and always. We say thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. And now we'll close out, but we're never closed. We'll close out the service with the peace song, followed by the prayer of protection. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our Father. Brothers all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be my movement now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. And before we affirm the prayer of protection, let us affirm in prayer. Dear God, thank you for this new day, its beauty and its light. Thank you for the opportunity to begin again, free from the limitations of yesterday. I am reborn. I fully reflect your radiance, and I am filled with the strength and compassion and courage and wisdom. I am the light of the world, and I recognize the good that is available to me and to you and to everyone. And so it is. Amen. And let us affirm, the light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. And the presence of God watches over us. For wherever I am, God is, and all is well. For I am the light. You can get a hug and can give a hug and have a blessed day.
You may unmute